So, welcome everybody on New Year's Day. Happy 2023. New Year's Day is usually a recovery day for a lot of folks. So, I expect we'll have fewer than we had yesterday. But thank you so much for making the time for us and coming to participate today. It's been really wonderful to share with everybody. Just a couple of really brief announcements, and I'll keep them brief. The first thing is I noticed in the comments, a couple of people were asking for a copy of the practice text. So the reason that I've been reluctant to make that available is the text is pieced together from some of my translation, from some of FPMT Education Services translation, which I think is fine to use, but Vula Zarpani's translations are also in there. And I have tried contacting her. The first time we used kind of the early version of this text was about 6 or 7 years ago with Geshe-la's Dutch students. I've never been able to contact Vula and ask her permission. So just as like a professional courtesy, if I'm able to reach her or if anyone knows, please let me know. My feeling is that she'd be okay with it, but it's always good to respect people's work. So that's why I haven't made the sadhana available for download. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, for those of you maybe who didn't make it yesterday and are joining us today, is that Paula Chichester, she fell ill. It's nothing serious. She expects to get better soon, but she needs to take rest. And so that's why she hasn't been, we had the plan for her to lead half the sessions, but we are gonna invite her hopefully sometime in the winter, sometime soon, to share with everybody.
If I may interject, we did have a recording with her that was quite good, and another one this afternoon, a recording of Paula leading Tara, speaking the way she does about how to practice. A really wonderful detail.
Great. Yes. Oh, sorry, you guys can't see my face. All right. So Dave and Deki Lee have been kind enough to facilitate the sessions and also integrating Paula's recordings. If for some reason you miss a session and you want to watch it later, all of these sessions are available both on Lama Yeshe Ling Media on YouTube and also the Lama Yeshe Ling Facebook page. So you can definitely watch these later if you're busy, if you need to miss a few sessions. Geshe-la's regular Sunday sessions will resume the second week of January, and his Chakra Samvara teaching will be the Saturday of that second weekend in January. So I think that is all I wanted to share with you. So please grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee, make yourselves comfortable, and I'll invite Geshe-la down momentarily. Thanks.
Venerable Kedrup, can you hear me? Because we can't hear you. Okay.
Thank you for chiming in, Kimberly. Yeah, we are all ready to go. Just had to get Geshe mic'd up, and I'm just lowering this slightly because I noticed that you might not be able to see the bottom part of my head. So hopefully things will be good now. Yes, that's better. That's better. That's good. So just to do a sound check and a picture check, can everyone see me clearly and can everyone hear me clearly? Awesome. Okay, thank you, everybody. Welcome, everybody, and Happy New Year.
So
firstly, Geshe says, Losar Tashidele, Happy New Year to everybody. May your New Year come out perfectly. So welcome. Can you also hear Geshe clearly? Okay, great. So when the old year has finished and the new year is beginning, it is the custom to wish Tashi Dele. And Tashi has a meaning of auspiciousness. And it's a wish for all of you to have auspicious causes and also auspicious results. And also remember, very important to remember that in terms of suffering and happiness, in terms of the cause, we are the doer of those causes, not another. The doer is that we call the self, and connected with that we refer to as my mind. And the I, or the self, and also the mind, we understand that these are things that are connected to us. It's not something that outside people have control over. So we are the doer in that sense. And so we have to use our mind. Oh, Dave, someone's letting you know your mic is on. And so we have to use our mind. So we have to use our mind to achieve our own freedom, to achieve our own liberation. So we are engaging in the activities that will lead to our happiness, that can contribute to the happiness of the people close to us, our friends, neighbor, and family, and also that can contribute to the happiness of all 6 types of sentient beings within samsara. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in sort of recent pieces of advice, he has said that if one maintains a pure and kind mind and one goes forth in that way, one is certain to receive the blessings of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. So recently His Holiness shared an experience of a vision that he had of the Buddha. And this vision happened on the basis of I think it was like a painting or a fresco at a monastery. And at that time, he was able to have this vision of the Buddha, where the Buddha bestowed a hand blessing on His Holiness, and then also the Buddha, from a collection of offerings that had been placed in front, he handed the Dalai Lama a piece of chocolate. So we can be assured that if we practice, if we put forth a kind mind in the right way, then we will definitely receive the blessings of the holy beings, such as the Buddha, such as Tara.
다 들리지 잘로서 만들어 이미지 단조와 또 토야지 그게 세서 무슨 부시 처모지는 또 토야지 단조와 또 이서 만들어서 간다. 안나서 간다 지바를 또 저때 뭐지 그거
So let's bring forth a resolve, maybe even a promise to, in this new year, really dedicate ourselves to transforming the mind, really try to put our mind in the direction of kindness.
다 보게 좀도 이제 보게 쉬는 거야. 텔레비전을 잘라 먹고 그러면 와. 소소 롱길라 빨리요. 이제 나로서 간기 때문에 이제 기본적으로 있어.
And this is a task that we can do, a task that we can do happily, because in terms of increasing our kindness, increasing our love and our compassion, we don't need many fancy external factors for this. This is really an opportunity that we have right in our hands.
다 되면 다 나로서 보게 연애 간가 쉬치는 거야. 텔라 다 단도도 많이 다 드리죠. 다
And so in our discussion, which is hopefully aimed at kind of strengthening our understanding of the practice, we often talk about sutra and tantra, and the topics today are principally centered on tantra.
다조 당가도 된다던 디세 투투레 되는 다조 다 거기야 갈가르도 되지 거야도 근데 소소 노를 가디나 다른 디세를 뭐들이 뭐지 주로 왔어.
And so hopefully from the sessions you will take into mind those important points that you need in order to enrich your practice. And then when you engage in your practice at home, especially when you have time, you can use those points to cultivate.
그래서 가져라가 노지 온도 제노도 다들이 자소요 키이나 소소라시네 다 다시 걸어 자소 배치 또 주요하래 또.
And just as a reminder, yesterday we said that if you have received a great empowerment, in addition to a Janan, blessing initiation of Tara, then you are permitted to do the self-generation and proceed with the sadhana as a self-generation.
다 되면 다 지체니 자 김내게 이나 다 되면 와서 주야를 되면 내 주야를 걸어서 왔다 주야를
So if you haven't received that initiation, and also maybe if you don't think really that self-generation is a thing, you can perfectly do the front generation, and you can use this to do the praises of Tara, to recite the mantra of Tara, to engage in the practice. That's perfectly fine. So engage at whatever level you can.
다 소생인을 디스플로마를 가고 또 다 그게 하고 살아와 다 그게 가리 가르세 가르다 이돈다고 생각하는데 다시 한다고 저기는 디스플로밍이는 누가 이메일 야야 말에 지키려면 야야만 조절을 되는 적이야.
So it is said that if you have faith and confidence in Tara as a yidam, as a deity, if you go for refuge sincerely to her, she bestows blessings without bias. So it doesn't matter whether you are a Buddhist or not. It doesn't even matter the type of person you are in a way, because she, without differentiation, bestows her blessings.
그래서 어떻게 지레스?
Sorry, gena michik chiwachik nanso. Nanso zoomla tene wangchen shutugirebesa.
줄라테네.
제.
오셔도 그래서 줄라테네.
제라.
줄라테네 오셔도 그래서.
So I saw a question pop up, and I don't normally put the questions that pop up on the screen to Geshe, because this is supposed to be a retreat, so we don't have question and answer. Like usually we do have a lot of question and answer, but I think this is an important one. And the question that I saw pop up was, can one receive a great initiation via Zoom, via the internet? And Geshe-la's answer is that yes, one can. And why Geshe-la says this is because recently His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, he has bestowed a lot of initiations over Zoom, over the internet, and he has made it very clear that people who attend are receiving that. But also it maybe depends on the Lama, whether the Lama has that power of transmission to be able to transmit it over the internet or not. So if you receive the great initiation at the time it is bestowed, via the internet with with a steady intention and motivation, then Geshe thinks it is definitely possible to receive the initiation.
This one,
So we can discuss more of this later. So why do we need the practices of both sutra and tantra out of these teachings of the Buddha? Why do we need both sutra and tantra? And why is it that we call tantra secret mantra? Why is it secret? If we think about it carefully, when we say I need to achieve Buddhahood, for example, or even I need to achieve the state of Aryatara, if we look at it carefully, we'll see that that actually isn't fully possible relying upon sutra alone. We need to incorporate tantra. Sorry. Geshe is saying there's something white on my mouth. I put a little bit of lip gloss on this morning because it's kind of dry in the winter. My apologies. Hope it didn't gross anybody out. Okay. So that looks like I have a white beard or something. My apologies. So there's an important thing to mention here when we speak about the holy beings, when we speak about beings like Aryatara, like Chenrezi, Avalokiteshvara, like Manjushri. There is those holy beings in terms of a state, an aspect that we achieve ourselves as a practitioner. And then we can also think about those holy beings as the first practitioner who engaged in the practices and manifested enlightenment in that way. So there's two ways to think about it. So if we say that there was this historical person, right, the princess Geshe Dawa, who on the basis of her practice, she became Tara, do we achieve that same Tara that is Geshe Dawa? We can't really say that, right? It would be a little bit awkward to say that. But there is Aryatara as an aspect of enlightenment that we can approach, and through our practice that we can achieve. And in that way, achieving the state of Tara is possible.
And this goes
for other deities. If we talk about Avalokiteshvara, if we talk about Manjushri and so forth, there are these two kind of different ways of thinking of them as that historical basis and like that object of attainment. Yeah. And same, like we can say, can we achieve the Buddhahood that Shakyamuni achieved? Yes, we can achieve that state of Buddhahood, but we don't actually become Shakyamuni in this sense of that like historical enlightenment, right? That would be a bit awkward to say. So going back to this discussion of Sutra and Tantra, when we speak about enlightenment, we can speak about this as the aspect of the two bodies, the two kayas, the Chukku, the Dharmakaya or truth body through which we achieve our own welfare, and the Sukku, the Rupakaya or form body through which we work for the welfare of others. Yeah. So achieving the meaning of others through the form body. When we think about the form body in that way, it's kind of a beautiful way to think about it. And if we were to say which out of those two, the Dharmakaya, the truth body, or the Rupakaya, the form body, is the main object of attainment, we would say that it is the Rupakaya, the form body, because that is the body through which we work for the welfare of others. However, in order to be able to achieve this form body, this Rupakaya, through which we work for others, we need to achieve our own welfare through the Dharmakaya, through the truth body. Because if we don't achieve that, we cannot manifest as the form body, as the Rupakaya. So the Dharmakaya from that perspective is very, very important. So for example, if you have an aspiration to help the people of your community or to help the people of your country improve their lives in a really significant way, you first have to secure the position and the influence in order to be able to do that, right? If you don't have the position and the influence, you won't be able to help them in the way you set out to. Yeah. So then in terms of the teachings of sutra, right, the open teachings, all of the methods are there to achieve both the substantial and auxiliary causes of the Dharmakaya, of the truth body. Yes, yes, so you can achieve those. So in terms of achieving the Rupakaya, the form body for the benefit of others, however, Sutra only has methods to achieve the auxiliary causes of that. It may sound like in some cases that it has the methods to achieve the substantial causes of that, but actually through sutra alone, you can't achieve the substantial cause of that Rupakaya. So the reason that we need Tantra in a capsule is because it is only through Tantra that we can achieve the complete set of causes, especially the full substantial cause of manifesting this Rupakaya, this form body. This is one of the reasons that we need Tantra. So another difference explained by Lama Tsongkhapa, and Lama Tsongkhapa gave this explanation after really examining carefully the teachings of the sutras and also the teachings of the shastras, the writings by the great Indian Pandits. And he said that a path which incorporates the resultant time for purities of a Buddha from now is the practice of Tantra. A path that does not do that is a path of Sutra. Yeah. So what are these four purities, you may ask? These four purities are the pure abode, pure body, pure enjoyments, and pure activities. Abode, body, enjoyments, and activities. So So in terms of the first one of this pure abode, how does this relate to our practice of Tara? Well, as we are manifesting Tara, we don't do this in our ordinary environment with those ordinary appearances, right? We are manifesting in a kind of very special way. Tara is a pure abode, for example, the crystal palace and so forth. So the practice of this is the practice of the first of these four purities, pure abode. So then, in terms of the so in terms of it's not so in terms of the sometimes the information is very condensed. I'll do my best. So in terms of the pure body, this begins by, in order to get rid of ordinary appearance and the clinging to ordinary appearance, one meditates on emptiness, and then one meditates that this mind meditating upon emptiness along with that subtle wind manifests as the deity, in this case of Tara. So that would be an example of pure body, the second of the four purities.
That's why
so when in the sadhana it says everything dissolves into emptiness, and then from within the sphere of emptiness or from within the state of emptiness, this is actually one of the most important parts of the practice. So you can't just like keep your ordinary body there, not having it dissolved into emptiness and like kind of like paste the image of Tara on top of that, right? It doesn't work like that. You have to dissolve it into emptiness.
That's how
and then the third purity, pure enjoyments, this is easy to understand. Having brought forth, the self-generation, then we imagine that from the seed syllable, in this case, the letter tam, at our heart, light rays emanate, maybe along with offering goddesses, and that these offerings are made to oneself and the attending holy beings. So this is a practice of the third purity, pure enjoyments.
That's social chevapisan hot katan kesana jiaretin yapo leletin sonotona tainga to tasano premala wotu chembochi.
So making these kind of offerings and so forth to oneself, it might seem a little bit odd at first, but actually it is very valuable in helping us to bolster our divine pride of being the deity in the aspect of the sadhana, and also in terms of developing our stability and clarity in the visualization. It's very helpful for that. And if we think as we make the offerings, that these offerings, when presented, they bring forth the uncontaminated bliss within the mind of the deity to whom we are offering, this makes the practice even more powerful. And then in terms of the fourth of these four purities, pure activities, this is once again in this case manifested as the deity from the letter tam. Light rays emanate, and we imagine fulfilling the welfare, fulfilling the wishes of sentient beings and so forth. This is the expression of the fourth of these purities, pure activities.
This one, or that
so it's actually the first part of these four purities that is a little bit more, it is actually the body, which, and the first two of these purities, which are a little bit more difficult, but once we dissolve everything into emptiness really well, and then we arise as the deity and create the abode, actually the rest of the practices will unfold a lot more easily.
다 대지 보긴 원래 가가 여보 차야라 다 끊어들 좀 봐도 이제 자와 지금 리셋 매나 당와가 그런 지금 내가 봐다 자자 다지 주저하레스.
But also we should mention here that in terms of engaging in these various practices and visualizations of Tantra, if we haven't prefaced that, if we haven't begun with the motivation of love, compassion, and bringing forth bodhicitta, then it is said with certainty that the tantric practice cannot bring a result.
조지 바데한테 잡혀를 주의되는 자가에서 뭐지는데 그런 것이 받는데 왔어. 뭐시 받는데 다 자가도 대선에서 가는 거 싸워 가는 거 세링한서도 지금 계속 들어왔어.
So one day when Atisha was in Tibet, one of his friends, Jakarni Lebson, came from India, and Atisha asked him, like, what is the news? What is happening in India?
당마가 열려서 그랬더니 예티가 지주가 예티가 돌아토바지 주소스
Yendugi,
토노
Tolom. And the person told Atisha that there was a mantraka, so a tantric practitioner who achieved the Nyentuk Karitonam, who achieved the path of seeing of a hearer, the path of seeing of a Shravaka.
다들 저 조지 배도 할 하치 뭐지 내가 그래서 다 PTTC 리월
And at that time, Atisha was kind of like very surprised and maybe even a little bit perplexed.
그 야채 뭐지 말해서
Yeah, it was a bit of an awkward situation.
어떻게 좀 뭐만 된다 다들 같이 뭐래 뭐 아니면 시키나
Mane gyumsen lago gredo akrinsen la konso kunom denso metsan. So I said to Geshe moved on to something, but it's like we didn't close the meaning of the story. So of course this happened, right? Because those mantrakas, they hadn't brought forth that motivation of love, compassion, and bodhicitta. So their practice actually resulted in a hinayana, in a shravaka attainment.
다 대문들은 예티가 그게 로지를 여보로야 될더니 여보 슈퍼에서 뭐 지지나
Loso.
뭐 놀래지는 예티가 로 여보지 돼야 돼 할래 여보지 마도
So not really completely denigrating it, because still, right, through the practice of mantra to be able to achieve the path of seeing of a Shravaka, that's still quite something.
왔다 대강이 돈을 전부는 아는데 이제 우유서 다 봐야 돼 간디스레 될 때 뭐를 맞던 바달래 또 뭐가 이런 때 같이 보지래
And so in terms of especially if you are a beginner with tantric practice, then a good place to focus your attention is on developing a good understanding and a good practice of these four purities.
다 벌써 줘봐 좀 주지세 아니 싫어 벌써 줘봐 또 니도 싫어하니 구가도 마시는 거 정말 안열래 지키기 믿던다고 다 또라고 되니래 두았어.
And so the perfect practice of method, love, compassion, bodhicitta, and so forth, the perfect practice of wisdom realizing emptiness, these are the very foundation stone that we put before we construct the house of our practice. So these are very important. So lots more to say, but we will come to some more comments later. So let us begin from the prayers for teaching occasions, just briefly with the praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. So we'll begin now with the sadhana, so the updated file, that one. Perfect, thank you. O kind Lama, together with the lineage, you are the synthesis of the body, speech, mind, qualities, and enlightened activities of all the Tathagatas of the 3 times and 10 directions, source of the 84,000 collections of Dharma, and Lord of the Arya Sangha. I go for refuge to the glorious root and lineage gurus. I go for refuge to the Buddha. I go for refuge to the Dharma. I go for refuge to the Sangha. I go for refuge to Aryatara together with her retinue deities. I go for refuge to the glorious root and lineage gurus. I go for refuge to the Buddha. I go for refuge to the Dharma. I go for refuge to the Sangha. I go for refuge to Aryatara together with her retinue deities. I go for refuge to the glorious root and lineage gurus. I go for refuge to the Buddha. I go for refuge to the Dharma. I go for refuge to the Sangha. I go for refuge to Aryatara together with her retinue deities. Sangye chedan soge chenam lai changche madu dani gyabsu chi dagi jinso gibe dagi njola penchir sangye jobar shu sangye chedan soge chenam lai changche madu dani gyabsu chi dagi jinso gibe dagi njola penchir sangye jobar shu sangye chedan sogi chenam la jangche bardu dani gyabsu chi dagi jinso gibe dagi njola penchir sangye jobar shu. So then in terms of our practice of refuge, we want to bring forth an additional cause so that the refuge can truly become the uncommon Mahayana refuge.
세제 도체게 된다 순지지 공부 마도 바다 다르게 줘서라 이치 템보체게 샤스로 이사한테 대바침 비상도 조어되어 봤어.
And so when we speak of this uncommon Mahayana refuge, it could be described as until I achieve the state of complete Buddhahood, enlightenment for all sentient beings, I will continuously go for refuge to the 3 jewels of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha.
다 될었더니 다 가슴만도 지바게 다시 있다는 데서야 되는 사와래 쓰던 유한 저서래도 아시트모이 잔도게 전니 대제 도모마이 미잔도게 저서 대지 같이 뭐래스.
And so yesterday when we explored refuge, we did a little bit about the context of this fear of samsara. Right? And so when we bring forth refuge, we can think of it in terms of the causes of that refuge. So when we speak of the common refuge, there are 2 principal causes. And when we speak of the uncommon Mahayana refuge, there are 3 causes.
된지서와 다 조조 된데는 리블은 지바 마세 절은 지바 지와나더니 야 녀몰도 다시 아시지 저반 지바지래서나 근데 다 텔레프게 줘야 다 짜야 더니 파 알레.
And so when we talk about the fear of samsara, if we think about that not only as the fear of the resultant suffering of samsara, but also in terms of the causes of that suffering, the afflictions and the 2 obscurations, then the utilization of that fear as a tool for refuge will be more effective.
어다도 조조 디빌레는 지바 디빌레진 디버시엄 거지 아니 디빌레 전니모 바자도 지바.
So we think of it in terms of it is the unwholesome karma, which is the cause of that resultant unpleasant experience that we want to avoid, right? And we understand that that unwholesome karma, its accumulation is connected to the afflictions.
어다 대모더니 뒤에 당한도 대야 뒤에다 놓지 많이 봐. 소소 로그 툴을 지대에서 손을 또 더나 다른 이방 이내 집에 배도 요약이 이바지 되는 거래.
Kind of korwagi
So
yes. So then if we think about also in terms of this fear of samsara as a cause, we think of it not just as that external environment of samsara, but we think about how it relates to us, both from the cause and resultant perspective. If we think about that, it'll make the practice more powerful.
This one, yeah, low, toil, low,
If we can think about it in the correct way, actually, this awareness will become an assisting factor for us being able to enter and progress on the path.
소소 거의 요다지 손으로 또 빠지요 차솔로 도면아 가지고 로토고 들어와서 가서 손으로 마도나
So if it's said that when you think about the difficulties of samsara, the dread is supposed to make like all the hairs on your arm stand on end. And so Geshe said that like if your contemplation isn't bringing forth some feeling, like if at least a few of those hairs are not standing up, it's not going to be fully effective.
알레 또 뭐 민주 때문에 봐요 나 민주 벌써 왔어요.
Yeah, and so when we talk about renunciation or definite emergence, it's often talked about a longing with one's hair standing on end, and just the mere definite emergence doesn't have that.
because Geneva Deva, Toye Deva, Ichi Deva, Niende Deva, Deva certificate.
So that's that first cause, right? The fear of samsara from both the causal and resultant perspective. And then the second cause, which is shared between the common and the uncommon refuge, is faith. And when we speak about faith, we can speak about that faith in terms of three aspects: aspiring faith, the faith of conviction, and clear faith. And so with refuge, right, a confidence or a belief is very important to have a true practice of refuge. So when we talk about faith as a cause of refuge, it's the faith of conviction or the faith of certainty that is very important here.
So in
terms of the aspiring faith, let us relate it here to our practice of Tara. So in this context, that aspiring faith would be Venerable Tara, the holy bodies, holy speech, and holy mind that you have achieved, may I also achieve your holy body, holy speech, and holy mind. So that's aspiring faith in this context. And then the third cause, which isn't in the common refuge, but is in the uncommon Mahayana refuge, right? This is a cause of concern for all sentient beings, with that love and compassion. And then one has in place the three causes of the uncommon Mahayana refuge. So we'll take a moment, just according to our own understanding, to try to bring forth that mind of faith in our meditation. So as a beginning, let's just put our body and our mind in a relaxed state. So first, let us bring forth clear faith, thinking of the clarity and the purity of our own mind in its potential. That clear faith or that inspiring faith, we can also bring it forth by thinking about the qualities of the Buddha. qualities of the Dharma, the teaching, the qualities of the Sangha, the spiritual community. The next one, the faith of conviction or certainty, certainty in the Buddha jewel as the teacher or the propounder of refuge, the Dharma jewel as the actual refuge, the Sangha jewel as the assisting factor, the friends who help us on the path. We have complete conviction that they can protect us from the fears of samsara generally and of the unfortunate realm. With that faith of conviction, then, we go for refuge. Until I achieve the holy body, speech, and mind of Venerable Aryatara, I will continuously go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I will transform my mind from this ordinary state where I hold some beings as close and some beings as far away with a biased mind, and bring forth a mind that sees all beings equally, unbiased compassion, seeing them all as close to myself. All sentient beings, in terms of their temporary happiness and their ultimate happiness, I myself alone will lead them to that happiness. So that's that mind of love infused with a pure superior intention. But in order to be able to bring forth that result of leading those beings to happiness, first, I must transform my ordinary body, speech, and mind into the holy body, speech, and mind of a Buddha. May I achieve the state of Buddhahood, the state of a Buddha's body, speech, and mind. For the sake of all sentient beings, bring forth bodhicitta.
Maripa, Sawa Mari dance Maripa, Yala, and in Yomu Kandiji and Lulupa, that it's a Maba to join this.
So how is it possible that I can achieve this state of enlightenment, or even that I can lead others to this state of enlightenment? Well, we understand that what keeps us from that enlightenment is this ignorance grasping at the self, and that ignorance grasping at the self is a completely mistaken mind. It has no valid reasoning behind it. Because of that, this ignorance can be completely defeated, can be uprooted, and we can achieve that state of enlightenment. Ultimately, the nature of our mind is pure luminosity. That luminosity can defeat those adventitious defilements. We can activate the potential for enlightenment within us.
So
What can help us to activate that potential? The realization of profound teachings of emptiness, the ultimate nature of it.
Oh yeah. Oh, that the Ligita Shandro, Yateva Chimbi Shandro, Teva Chimbi, Shu Chandro, Aganda, Bundebasana, Bundeseritanda, Semejital Bundeseri,
So then in order to kind of bring forth this very strong refuge in bodhicitta, the uncommon Mahayana refuge and so forth, we have the assisting factor, which is like the water and the fertilizer. And this is the practice of these four immeasurables. So we'll recite these. May all sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be separated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. So next is the special bodhicitta. For the welfare of all mother sentient beings, I must quickly, very quickly achieve the precious state of perfect and complete Buddhahood. For this purpose, I will engage in the meditation and recitation practice of Venerable Aryatara. For the welfare of all mother sentient beings, I must quickly, very quickly achieve the precious state of fully perfect and complete Buddhahood. For this purpose, I will engage in the meditation and recitation practice of Venerable Aryatara. For the welfare of all mother sentient beings, I must quickly, very quickly achieve the precious state of fully perfect and complete Buddhahood. For this purpose, I will engage in the meditation and recitation practice of Venerable Aryatara. Salamin Jibingi Chadi Bemora Jine Bomba Mayola Chazalo Ladana Jibingi Chadi Bemora Jine Bomba Mayola Chazalo Ladana Jibingi Chadi Bemora Yola Chazalo So we'll do the 7-limbed offering to the exalted Arya Tara, the noble lady Tara, and to all the victorious ones and their heirs, dwelling in all directions of the universe through past, present, and future. Sincerely and enthusiastically I pay homage. I make offerings of flowers, incense, lamps, fragrant scents, and food and music and the like, both physical and imaginary, created by mind. Assembly of noble ladies, please accept them all. All my negative deeds throughout beginningless time until today, the 10 non-virtues and the 5 with immediate reckoning, sprung from this mind that is driven by destructive emotions, I confess them all, each and every one. With a heart full of delight, I rejoice in all the merits of Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and every living being throughout the 3 times. I implore you, according to the temperament and mental capacity of sentient beings, please turn the wheel of Dharma, of all the vehicles, lesser, greater, and general, until samsara has been completely emptied. I beseech you, do not pass into nirvana, but look upon us with your boundless compassion, as we flounder in this ocean of suffering. By whatever virtue I have amassed, become the cause of enlightenment for all. May I quickly, without delay or deferment, become an excellent guide to all beings. And so now we will recite the praises to the 21 Taras. So these are on page 44 of the 4 mandala ritual. So we'll do them just like last time, I think, once in Tibetan and once in English. Kama juda zubana giradu jirabama Chaze semo jene ge beme chani namba jema Jamba zendu kato shima zeba sote jeye niyama Chaze dejin shebe zudo taye namba gyawa jema Malu paro shamba do be gyave sengi shando dema Jaza duda raho yege Dudan shoda nanga gamba Jide dumbo shaki nede Liba meba guba nema Chaza gyashe mela zamba Lula nazo onju chema Jumbo ruran jisa nado Nijin zuji nune dema Chaza jiji jado beki Baro dugo radu jama Yege yege shaki nende Meba juba shinto bama Chaza duri jino jembo Dugi bao namba jama Chuki shaye choye denze Zhao toche mali sema Chasa kunshu sonze chagi Somo duga namba gema Malu chuki polo gembe Rangi yogi sonam chuma Chasa rabdu kawa jibe Uge negi chewa bema Jeba rabje tutara Dudan jide wandu zema Chase sani kyongwe tsona Tangche gupa nima nima Chowe yowe yoge wange Bomba tangche namba chema Chasa dawe dumbu ege Gyaba tangche shinto bama Rabe kuna upa mere Taba shinto razema Chase kabe tame me da Bawe chewe ma ye kya ye go gune go ye dai buni namba jama chaza sani ngala chage yegi nichi chage do ma choye chense yege wange rimba dombo namne ge ma chaze de ma ge ma she ma nyangen de she che ne ma swa odan yang dan de be de ba chen bo jo ba ne ma chaze gune kora ga le cha ye le ni nang ba ge ma yege che be nga le ge be re ba hu le jo ma ne ma chaze de re sha ni de be hong gi na be sa be ne ma re ra ma da ra dong be je den su nang yo wa ne ma cha sa la ye zo yi nang be ri da da je cha na na ma tara ni jo be ge ye ge de na ma le ba ni se ma cha sa la ye zo nang ge bo la da mi ai je de ma ge ne ge cha ga we je ge zu da mi la ngen ba se ma cha sa ni ma da wa ge be she ni bo la he ra ze ma hara ni je to da ra yi shin to ja be je ne se ma cha se de ni su na ge be shi wei tu da yang da de ma de da ru la de jin su na jong pa tu re ra jo ni ma za wei nga di tu ba di da cha sa wa ni shu za chi Om, I prostrate to the noble, transcendent liberator. Homage Tara, swift heroic, eyes like lightning instantaneous, sprung from opening stamens of the Lord of Three Worlds, tear-born lotus. Homage she whose face combines 100 autumn moons at fullest, blazing with light rays resplendent as 1,000-star collection. Homage golden blue one lotus, water-born in hand adorned, giving effort calm austerities, patience, meditation, her sphere. Homage crown of Tathagatas, actions triumph without limit, relied on by conquerors' children, having reached every perfection. Homage filling with Dutare, whom desire direction and space, trampling with her feet the seven worlds, able to draw forth all beings. Homage worshipped by the All Lords, Chakra, Agni, Brahma, Marut, honored by the hosts of spirits, corpse raisers, Gandhavas, Yakshas. Homage with her tray and pay sounds, destroying foes' magic diagrams, her feet pressing left out right in, blazing in a raging fire blaze. Homage to the very dreadful, destroyer of Mara's champion, she with frowning lotus visage, who is slayer of all enemies. Homage at the heart, her fingers adorn her with 3 jewel mudra, light ray masses all excited, all directions wheels adorn her. Homage she so joyous, radiant, crown emitting garlands of light, mirthful laughing with Dutare, subjugating Mara's devas. Homage she able to summon all earth guardians assembly, shaking, frowning with her home sign, saving from every misfortune. Homage crown adorned with crescent, moonal ornaments most shining, Amitabha in her hair, not sending out much light eternal. Homage she mid-wreath ablaze like eon ending fire abiding. Right stretched left band choice surrounds you, troops of enemies destroying. Homage she who strikes the ground with her palm and with her foot beats it, scowling with the letter Hundi. 7 levels she does conquer. Homage, happy, virtuous, peaceful. She whose field is peace, nirvana. She endowed with Om Svaha, destroyer of the great evil. Homage, she with joy surrounded, tearing foes' bodies asunder. Frees with whom in knowledge mantra, arrangement of the 10 letters. Homage to Re with seed letter, of the shape of syllable, whom by foot stamping shakes the 3 worlds. Meru, Mandara, and Vindhya. Homage holding in her hands the Hermart moon of Deva lake form, with twice spoken Tara and Pe, totally dispelling poison. Homage she whom gods and their kings and the Kinnaras do honor, armed in a joyful splendor. She dispels bad dreams and conflicts. Homage she whose 2 eyes bright with radiance of sun and full moon, with twice Hara and Dutare. She dispels severe contagion. Homage full of liberating power by the set of 3 natures, destroys hosts of spirits, yakshas, and raise corpses supreme Turi. These praises with the root mantras and prostrations thus are 21. Yeah, opinion be
This one.
this one.
Oh, that is a drama that Tangines on a tennis and so that no jelly the color. Lesen they are catching, but that is word as it up on the atona. So the second moral, Japan, touch the Mamu, touches over.
And so when we recite these 21 praises at home, ideally you'll be reciting these actually even more slowly and very clearly with like a very calm and focused mind. And when we recite positive things with mindfulness and clarity, this has a very beneficial impact even on our physical health, right? There's been some scientists who have done some experiments with positive reinforcement through sound.
Oh, that Japanese pass, you watch it, see, or patient on the festival, Nuru, and the children, Nuru, the Medu, to Romuni, what to do, the Teviova. See, never move patient on Nolo, Taha Levitane, children, Nuru, Hale, don't have cancer.
So many of you may be familiar with an experiment by Japanese scientists where they had, I believe it was like some kind of rice water, and they had 2 jars of this rice water. And in one place they would say like positive things and positive words and so forth. And then the images in the rice were pleasant, like flowers and so forth. And also the water had a pleasant smell. And then they had another jar of rice water where they would say like nasty and abusive things, and actually the smell of this water became very foul smelling. And so we can see the impact of the power of positive sound.
Oh, that was what a Nolo subject to the Kaza too much about Nazan go to near my water, Nibayaga, was.
And also when we recite in this way, if we are able to stabilize the elements within ourselves, for example, the earth element, the water element, and so forth, and these are in more harmony, then we are less likely to be beset by a serious illness and so forth.
Oh, you will almost assume at the Dema Kangam Dema Titis and I was
So then also the Lamas instructed, if you can't recite all of the 21 homages, there is a short verse, a condensed one. You can recite the short single verse and then recite the mantra, and this also has great benefit.
This one, or that what the that's also the money on the general thoughts again, that go each time,
and especially as we are reciting, especially for those of you who have received the empowerment or the permission initiation, right? It's also really important to visualize and meditate as we go along with the recitations.
Oh, that
So we can probably safely say that it is many people who recite the praises of Tara, but in terms of those who actually have an understanding of the meaning of those words, that is probably relatively fewer.
So
of course, within Tibet, then even amongst the illiterate people, right? There are probably many of the illiterate people who memorize these 21 praises and have recited it thousands or even hundreds of thousands of times. There's a saying in Tibet that even cats, when they are in their sleep, because they've heard it so many times, they are able to recite the 21 taras in their sleep. Right. And so the purring sound that the cats make when they sleep, some Tibetans say that that's actually the sound of the 21 taras. Yeah, so it has that kind of rolling purr, and then it is said that at that time they're reciting the Tara praises. Also, when we recite it clearly, and with a little bit of force, with a little bit of a volume, it is said that this also helps to plant a firmer imprint within our mind stream. Yes, and so when we speak about imprints, we can speak about Nangwa Dankare, Zimba, an appearance imprint and a holding imprint, an appearance imprint and a holding imprint. So if we recite it when we're a little bit bored or without full attention, then the imprints of that recitation is going to be like snow on the ground, right? So that when rain falls or something, that snow is immediately going to be dissipate and be melted. So that's kind of like that appearance imprint. Whereas the holding imprint, it is said to be a little bit more like hail falling from the sky. The hail, when it falls from the sky, it makes a firm popping sound. And also because it's actually ice, it lasts a lot longer on the ground even than the snowflakes. And so yesterday we explained a little bit about the meaning of Venerable Tara's name and title, and also a little bit about the meaning of Kadaravani, so the green Tara's appearance, one face, two hands, her color, and so forth. So we'll explain a little bit also about the other aspects of Tara and these 21 praises. We're not in a rush, right? We're just going to give a taster of these because Geshe-la's plan is that we have a normal Sunday class, like pretty much weekly, and he wants to introduce some of these during that class as well. So we'll just do a bit of a taster. So then in terms of the 21 praises of Tara, in terms of the source, we explained that we can posit the source as the Buddha who spoke these teachings. In terms of the way of thinking about these 21 praises to Tara, there are actually two ways. We can think that they are 21 qualities or aspects of the main deity, Kadaravani Tara, or we can think that they are praises of 21 different aspects of Tara. So there's two ways to think about it. So why do you have the essential Tara, but why does she manifest these 21 or even more different aspects? This is in accordance with the affinities and capacities of different sentient beings, right? So to fit their particular affinities and capacities, she manifests as these different forms. So we talk about, we have a lot of different deities when we talk about tantric practice. So also when we talk about various yidams, right? We know that there are different yidams. Some people may practice Heruka Chakra Sambhara. Some people may practice Vajrayogini. Others may practice Yamantaka. Others may practice Guya Samaja. So why do we have these different deity forms? Also from that perspective of highest yoga tantra, we have these different deity forms according to the affinities and capacities of different sentient beings, but also according to different makeups of the channels and the winds of different people. So kind of certain channels and winds are more inclined to a certain kind of practice. But we maybe aren't so in tune with our subtle body and in tune with our inner channels or chakras and the prana or the winds. So that's why we always like to do all sorts of different yidams. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. We like to jump between things. But all kidding aside, it is said that if one is able to be familiar with the makeup of one's own energy channels, chakra, and one's own prana or winds, or get advice on the makeup of one's own energy channels and winds, and be assigned a deity based upon that, then it will be easier to bring forth the realizations of deity yoga. So then, Logyugone, right? Lonku. And so in terms of these praises, in terms of the different bodies, it is said that these praises are mainly praising the aspect of the Lonku, so the Sambhogakaya or enjoyment body. And so within these Sambhogakaya manifestations, within these emanation body manifestations, you have some which are peaceful and some which are wrathful. So there are praises that praise a wrathful aspect and praises that praise a peaceful aspect. Yeah. So in some of the explanations, it compares these different aspects to a parent, right? If a mother and father want their child to turn out well, they understand that sometimes they have to show like a very peaceful aspect, but sometimes they have to show a sterner, stricter aspect. So we can think of it like that. So when you have like harmful beings that are really harming others, really a danger to others, then sometimes a wrathful aspect is going to be more effective to get them to stop doing the harm. And so that is why we have these wrathful aspects of Tara as well. So then Geshe is going to give an explanation of the verses. So so I would like to use the literal translation of the praises, Dave. So you'll find that on page 193 in the, oh my gosh, it's not there. It's good. Oh yes, no, it is there. It is there. So Dave, if you go to the 4 mandala ritual and you go to page 57, you'll see the literal translation of the verses. That's going to make Geshe-la's commentary on the verses more meaningful. I think maybe Dave stepped away for a moment, but anyways, I'll just use this translation. No worries, we'll continue. Oh. So in terms of the first verse, so I'll read this out. Homage to you, Tara, the swift heroine, whose eyes are like a flash of lightning, whose water-born face arises from the blooming lotus of Avalokiteshvara, protector of the 3 worlds. So the outline that's given to this verse is praising Tara through her history. Praising Tara through her history.
All the use then Roma Koro made rat by Roma. Rat power. Oh,
How? And so the aspect of a Tara that is being praised here is the excellent heroine, or the swift one, the heroine.
on this one, or that gets you got an aruso that previously which are choppy the end. Chatawa said the allocation said so the is Kadina.
Chaksewa. And so in order to make this really meaningful, homage to you, or I prostrate to you, is a really important part of the verse.
Oh, so I should look at this you got Shatawa race. I want to you got a Shatawa race.
So homage to you, so I offer prostration. So to what object am I offering prostration? To what object am I offering homage?
Oh, that you got a Shatawa race and it's a Roman Shatawa race.
I am offering homage, I am offering prostration to the object Venerable Arya Tara.
Oh, that one I call it. Shata give you call it.
What qualities does she possess that makes her worthy
This
of
one?
this homage?
Oh, it is you're not a she's on the other is not so. It is too much to them by is.
She possesses 4 important qualities, and those 4 are what make her worthy of prostration or homage.
Oh, that's it. Don't put in your house. It is so say we are that in that just what? Oh, it is just the carriers Doma, Nyama, Pamu, Chienikeji Lutondama.
Yeah. So in terms of those 4 qualities, they are expressed as Tara, the swift heroine, whose eyes are like an instant flash of lightning. So those are the 4 qualities.
This one, oh, that Doma Zalavina, Hakosara Senja Yuzo, Jachimba, that this was in Coadumia Sobetumale Trova, Nika and Jipale Trova.
So Droma, or Tara, means the savioress. To save from what? To save all sentient beings from samsara in general, and the 3 unfortunate realms in particular.
Hakosara, or that Doma, Nyama, Sentindig Doeteo, or Tangazo Lacano is and so we said the Maniba. You both are like a Nyama.
So swift means that she's engaged in these activities to benefit sentient beings, not in sort of like a lazy, halfish way like we are, but that she is engaged very quickly, very swiftly to benefit those beings and liberate them. And we can think, when we speak about swiftness, we can think about Tara as being the essence of the wind element of all the Buddhas. And so generally all Buddhas want to help us as fast as they can, but because Tara's element is the wind element, she can appear and benefit very swiftly. So here we say Pal Mo. If we say Pao in Tibetan, that's hero, but here it is a female deity, so we say Pal Mo, which means heroine. So why is Tara a heroine? Because she is a feminine aspect of heroism that completely can protect us and help us to overcome the 4 maras, or the 4 demons. So if we reach out to her, because she has this aspect of as the heroine, she will definitely be able to help us to overcome those 4 maras, those 4 demons. Yeah. And so the 4th quality, and perhaps even here this is the most important one, whose eyes are like an instant flash of lightning. So the eyes are illuminated like that flash of lightning. And as you know, a flash of lightning on a dark night, even on a dark night, it can illuminate everything.
그래서 어다 시바 깨지마 지 시바 디세 투두 지기나요. 하고 사람 이제 그러면 매기 시바 지기나요.
Yeah.
어다 지 강가로 나서 다음에 너를 이렇게 저쪽으로 여봐 놓지 다 돌아.
So even just a glance from these lightning-like eyes, just like we can see the things in front of us in the room we're sitting in, Venerable Aryatara, with those lightning-like eyes, she can comprehend all objects of knowledge, everything that is to be known.
어다 뉴피도 가디도 때문에 지체나 매기 시바를 때문에 손지가 매기 시바다 안에 손지
Ale,
너체 말했으니 그거
ale.
지금 말했으니 라이죠. 당연히 됐어요 말. 손지 시바 강가 그치 시레스.
Oh, so in Drepung and Ganden, so there's sometimes we come to these, I don't know how these things happen. So I guess, but it's probably interesting for folks. So there's a bit of an obscure point here when we speak about these eyes like a flash of lightning. Mi Geshe Parwa, di Yeshe Marese. So some scholars from Drepung and Ganden, they hold that the visual consciousness of a Buddha is not the Swabhavakaya, the wisdom truth body, but scholars at Sera and at the other monasteries hold that it is a Buddha's eye consciousness is an aspect of that Swabhavakaya, the wisdom truth body. Yes. Yeah. So most scholars are holding that all of the sense faculties of the Buddha, they are namkyen. Yes, they are all perfectly omniscient and can penetrate all. So that's what most are holding. Again. Yeah. They hold that all consciousnesses, whether we talk about the sense consciousness or the mental consciousness of a Buddha, they are the aspect of this wisdom truth body. And sorry, I said Swabhavakaya, I should have said Jnanakaya. Sorry about that. So that's Jnanakaya, not Swabhavakaya. So because Tara possesses all of these profound qualities, I offer homage, I offer prostration to her. So from what type of causes did Venerable Tara arise? This is connected with the one who is known as the Lord of the Three Worlds. And Geshe said, if you think about it in an easy way, we can say the Lord of the Three Worlds means the Lord of the Three Realms, desire, form, and formless, who is known as Chenrezi, Avalokiteshvara. And based upon the profound enlightened activities of Chenrezi or Avalokiteshvara, he has helped countless sentient beings be free from the fears of samsara and the lower realms and lead to liberation. However, despite the fact that Chenrezi, that Avalokiteshvara had worked all of this time to free all of these sentient beings, when he gazed upon the various realms of samsara, it seemed like there weren't fewer beings, like there were still countless beings that were trapped there. So then, of course, we say that Avalokiteshvara is an enlightened being. So here we would say that he had the aspect. He had the aspect of profound sorrow, looking at how many beings were still left within samsara. And due to that sorrow, a tear fell from his eye, upon which a lake appeared and a lotus appeared. And upon that lotus arose Aryatara. So this is another origin story of Tara.
어떤 로지나 야채보 아까서라 오늘 예대이나 벌써 뭐 대대마기자 되게 짓을 드라마다 샤사리스.
So because of this profound history about the arising of Tara as the deity, and because of these profound qualities that she possesses, I prostrate to Aryatara. So in this way, we've given you a little bit of a taster of Geshe-la's style to comment on these different verses of the 21 praises. So now we shall return to the sadhana, Mande Puya. So we'll do a quick Geshe and don't recite it too slowly. I like to do the mandala with a bit of soul, but I guess not today. So we'll do a short mandala offering. Soji Bukye Joshi Medo John Rira Livi Nibi Gyavadi Sangye Shindu Mede Moage Roko Nada Shila Jivarishu Idam Guru Rana Menala Kondirya Yadaya. So now we'll move to page 7, the self-generation. Om Sobhava Shuddha Sawa Sobhava Shuddha Sawa Dhamma Sobhava Shuddha. Everything becomes emptiness. From within the state of emptiness appears a palm. This transforms into a lotus bearing the syllable Ah. Ah transforms into a moon cushion upon which appears my own mind, in the aspect of a green tongue radiating light. Fulfilling the two purposes, it gathers back, and I arise instantly in the form of Kadaravani Tara, body green in color with one face and two hands. My right hand is in the mudra of supreme generosity, and my left hand at my heart is in the mudra of granting refuge. Between both thumbs and ring fingers are utpala flowers that blossom behind my ears. Adorned with precious ornaments and silken garments, I sit in the bodhisattva posture and am marked with an Om at the crown, an Ah at the throat, and a Hum at the heart. From the Hum at the heart, light radiates, inviting the wisdom beings, similar to the one invoked from the Potala abode. Za, Hum, Am, O, they become inseparable. The empowering deities grant empowerment, and Amitabha appears as my crown ornament. So pause here for a moment. And so we're going to do a brief meditation, and it's going to be based upon what we presented yesterday in terms of these 6 deities. Just to the best of your ability.
Om Sobhava Shuddha Sawa Dhamma Sobhava Shuddha Sati Dhammarusu Lima Yesala Tene Tapi Nate.
So Om Sobhava Shuddha Sawa Dhamma Sobhava Shuddha Hang, we reflect. Everything dissolves into emptiness, so we imagine that the self, which is posited on the basis of this body, speech, and mind, dissolves into that sphere of emptiness. So within that sphere of emptiness, even the appearance of true existence does not arise. Ordinary appearance does not arise. Grasping or clinging at ordinary appearance does not arise within this sphere of emptiness.
The
emptiness of our mind, our ordinary mind, and the emptiness of Tara's mind, our object of attainment, is exactly the same emptiness. So then we think that this mind meditating upon emptiness, it manifests in the aspect of sound in the surrounding sky. This is the deity of sound. We hear the sound of the mantra, Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. So then this clear resounding sound of Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha takes on a physical aspect, the physical aspects of the letters of the mantra, which are made out of a precious gold-like substance. It's the deity of letters. Then we imagine that all of those mantras, they are filling the extent of the sky or space. And then slowly, all of those letters begin to dissolve and dissolve and dissolve and dissolve into a tum syllable, at the heart. And we imagine that from that tam we arise, or the front generation arises, tara, green in color, one face, two hands, and so forth. In terms of the hand, one hand is in the gesture of granting refuge. The other is in the gesture of granting attainment. And then imagine that from our heart as Venerable Tara, we invite many wisdom being emanations of Arya Tara surrounding us. And then as you recite Za, Hum, Bam, Ho, we imagine that these surrounding wisdom beings dissolve into us and that we become of one essence. And then the deity of Buddha, remember, touching those 3 places or those 5 places, we imagine that in this way, the divine pride and also the appearance of the deity is stabilized.
차지라 세를 도자지 봐 소소 같으니 도제 링가 하르니 그때 무슨
So similar to Mudras of
아
and then the deity of signs, all of the ornaments and qualities.
뭐야
So we'll pause there.
다 소소 그게 제대로나 되지만 저는
So when we are doing the deity of the mudra or the seal, Geshe said, you can visualize touching your three places, or also both shoulders and both knees along with the three places, or you can actually touch the dorje, the vajra, to those places. So in that case, you would be touching both shoulders, both knees, and then the three places, the crown, the throat, and the heart. And so according to the teachings of Kriya Tantra or Action Tantra, then meditating on the deity of by way of these 6 points is very important. And these 6 deities, they're actually to help us to firm up our appearance of the deity as well as the associated divine pride. So we will continue now. So then we will go next. So we will go next to the blessing of the offerings. Sorry, so just to say, I didn't delineate it clearly in the practice text. We actually have 2 kind of recitations of Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Humpe. The first is to bless the vase. The next is to bless the offerings.
Om Bezamada
Kundali Hana Hana Humpe, Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Humpe, Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Humpe, Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Humpe.
Om Bezamada Kundali Hana Hana Humpe.
So next offerings. So we have in this way with this mantra, bless the vase. And then we next bless the offerings. Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Humpe. Yeah. Om Amrita Kundala Hana Hana Humpe. Om Sobawa Shuddha Savadama Sobawa Shuddho Ham Tomba Nidu. Everything becomes emptiness. From within emptiness, from syllables Om, arise precious vessels that are broad and vast. Inside them, the syllables melt into light and give rise to the offerings. Drinking water, water for the feet, flowers, incense, butter lamps, perfume, food, and music. They are translucent, unimpeded, and vast as space. So as we recite these, actually what we do is we recite Om, then we go through all of the names of each of the offerings, and then we recite Ahum once. This is the abbreviated way of doing it. Om Agam Bhadyam Agam Bhadyam Dube Aloke Gende Nude Shah Sapariwa Agam Dube Aloke Gende Nude Shah. Did you get that? La da la min chu bengi shani bemola de te bomba gule josepe droma yola shasa.
Oh, ya da di che de la da che ba shala yi na. 어느 소화감 뭐지 유달이요 말이에요.
Right,
So
right.
제가 피비가를 소화하셔야 되는 거죠.
So you'll notice when we recite the
갑자기 소화로.
Loso, yeah. So you'll notice that when we recite just the blessings of the mantra, it doesn't have praticha hum soha, it just has ahum. But when we actually make the offerings, right, the words of the offerings finish with praticha hum swaha.
다 이날 강에 들어가려서는 다 모셔야 되는 가시를 때니 실라가라 이나요 피비가라 아고세 가시요.
Ale. Ahum sana
Soha,
ngunechuba puya. Soha meba.
소가 가시요.
Yeah. But you'll find that in some deity practices, this is not always the case. Might not necessarily be included.
다 가지면서 되니지 가시 도와도서 와서 어디서 오면서 아무다 끝나라 하나하나 홍패 해야돼. 제가 계속해야 돼. 제가 조절하러 왔어.
So when we recite the Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Hum Pe, in the context of the offerings, this is to kind of chase away any hindrances to the offerings.
다소서 제가 가르쳐요나 제가 니비가 다 비에도 바셨던 이유가 뭐이나 다 뒤도 소소 지도 좀 하셔야 와스 지도 좀 투가 또이리
Yeah.
하고 살아와 다네 다게 파트케 같은 라모들이 배니라 내가 지게 대지가 게르지 바비도.
So in order to get rid of the various hindrances and so forth, at this point of the ritual, when we recite the Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Hum Pe, we imagine that ourselves as Tara from the Tam at our heart, sort of wrathful goddesses emanate, and those goddesses chase away any possible obstructing spirits and so forth.
한번 가실 또 그냥 막게 한번 가실 거로 좋게 한번 가시게 바쁘게 걸어서서 내가
So the different goddesses do this in different ways. Some use the bumpa to chase away hindrances. Some do this with their hands. Some sprinkle water and so forth. So they're all manifesting in different ways to clear away those hindrances.
So
it's just like in the monastery or in the Dharma center, in order to keep it going, right, you have different people who are serving various functions. So in this way, these different goddesses are helping clear away obstacles in different ways.
하게서 받으면 받지 예제를 나라 하고서로 게 받지 기가는 라모 받어 몇 받는 편이라 샤침부터 시월지 받대로 그러was 어제노지 받대 봐서 또.
So you can think about it when you recite the Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Hum Pe, that these lights emanate, and on each of the light rays is a goddess who chases away obstructors, and that or you can imagine a single goddess, and then as the obstructors are chased away, it's like birds flying from this shore to another shore very far away.
소바와시는 대소와 소바와시는 사와도 소바와시는 또 많이 저 라비카 소소쇼자 디디제즈 요아라스
알아
제가 디제즈 요아라스 강가로로 이제 또 많이 듣지네다 And
then when we recite Om Sobawa Shuddha Saurdhamma Sobawa Shuddhohan, everything becomes emptiness. We might have these physical offering substances in front of us, right? So we imagine that these dissolve into light and into emptiness. We imagine that. So we know that they're there nominally, physically, right? But we're doing this as a mental exercise to imagine that they dissolve into emptiness. And this is a way of helping us to get rid of the ordinary appearance, or also the grasping at inherent existence that we may have in relation to those offerings.
This one, that Tumbing Zara, you did Tumbing when the Soso say Tumbani Sono to Kisses you are, was till you are there, you know, dog to forget.
Yeah. And so then we imagine that from within emptiness, so we imagine that the mind that is thinking about emptiness, along with the subtle wind associated with that mind, they manifest in front of us the various vessels, in other words, the various containers in which those offerings will appear. And so then at that point, right, we have like this awareness that those offerings that are in front of us, that's not what we might have set out physically, right? It is what has appeared from that sphere of emptiness in the aspect of the flowers, in the aspect of the various waters and so forth. Right, because the reason is that the physical offerings that we set out before, right, we didn't do this with our awareness of being Tara, and also they are made out of the physical substances of this world, therefore they are contaminated, and we imagine that the offerings dissolve into emptiness and are presented again, so that we can imagine that these are pure, uncontaminated offerings that give rise to great bliss. So we imagine that the essence of all of these offerings, after this meditation, the incense, the lights, the flowers, the water, whatever, that these are all actually in nature with that emptiness. And they have the aspects, right? They have the aspects of those various offering substances, flowers, water, incense, light, and whatnot. And they give rise to uncontaminated great bliss according to those various sense faculties, eye, ear, nose, tongue, and so forth. So we can see, right, like when you're doing the ritual, like to really do it in this way, it's all these points of meditation, right? It's not necessarily something that's so easy to do. And so when we are making the offerings, if we can incorporate this, this is something very important. Yeah, So a question might arise here. Well, okay, then if you're just meditating like this and arising it from emptiness, a huge raven just landed outside our house. We don't usually get ravens in Ontario, and I'm talking huge. It's the biggest raven I've ever seen. Anyways, so sorry, ADD gets me distracted, and his friend has now arrived. So if you hear caw, 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 it's the ravens. So then why do we actually have to set out the offerings at all? Why don't we just imagine them arising from emptiness? The reason is that because when we prepare physical offerings, right, we have to secure those offerings and set them out and so forth. So all of the activities related to setting out the offerings, these become causes and conditions for an additional accumulation of merit. So that's why it's useful.
So
Geshe wanted to explain these important points, especially perhaps if some of you are new and have not heard these before. So then we have about 5 minutes to do some mantra recitation. So you'll excuse me, we'll just go through this part a little bit quickly. So starting on the bottom of page 9, at my heart upon a moon disk, there is a letter Tam, surrounded by rotating mantra garland from which light radiates, making offerings that delight the assembly of Aryas, purifying the negativities, obscurations, and suffering of all sentient beings, and leading them to the Arya state. The light then collects the blessings of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, which absorb into the mantra garland at my heart and bestow all attainments. So sorry, Geshe says he does have to stop just for 1 minute because he wants to share something with you here. So as we do the mantra recitation, if you're doing the self-generation, you yourself are Tara. From a Tam at the heart, light rays emanate. This produces a replica Tara, who is sitting directly in front of you. Yes.
어른 너 이제 좀 마셔서 뒤에 가라 나이 mamma
And
알아서 또 유튜브 세지 말라
and then we imagine that this mind meditating on emptiness manifests as a moon disk at the heart of the Tara in front of us, at the heart of the replica Tara.
나와 뒤에 또 이치 또 동치 또 될 거라 저는 따라서
And upon that moon disk is the seed syllable tam, surrounded by the mantra Om Tare Tutare Ture Swaha. So now, with that visualization, let us recite the mantra Karmasum.
예, 가만히.
Yeah, 2 minutes. Sorry, 2 minutes today, everybody. Om Tare Tutare Ture So the praise, greatly compassionate, venerable mother, please purify the obscurations of myself and limitless beings. Help us to quickly complete the collections and attain perfect Buddhahood. And now the Vajrasattva mantra. Om Pema Sattva. And we'll go right to the request for forgiveness. Sorry. Whatever was incorrect due to not finding, knowing, or being able to do, I request you to be patient with all this. Whatever omissions or additions or any parts of the ritual that went wrong, and whatever I forgot to do, please be patient with this as well. And now we request the deity to remain. As you dwell together with the space for the benefit of sentient beings, please grant health, life, power, and everything supreme. Om Supratishte Vajraye Swaha. Vajra Mu, the wisdom beings depart to their natural abode, and the commitment beings dissolve into Mitamor. Venerable Tara, please increase the lifespan of myself and all other sentient beings who are as vast as space. Please prolong my lifespan, pacify sickness and spirits, and please purify negativities and obscurations. Please help me achieve the common and supreme siddhis quickly, having realized correctly the holy dharma of the entirety of the sutras and 4 classes of Tantra. May I advise others and strive to uphold the victory banner of proper practice until samsara is empty. Through whatever virtues I have amassed by venerating the Bhagavan, may all sentient beings without exception be reborn in the land of ultimate bliss.
간조 단단 간조 아사비가리나 아니 열라 니야레스
Yes.
디젤라 티비야라 디젤라 티비야라.
So just before we recite the final dedication, regarding the mantra recitation, there's one important thing that should be mentioned. When we do the recitation, there are two outlines concerning recitation: concentration with repetition and concentration without repetition.
하고서 어때 같이 버레스 너 이거 가와이나 시레지니 지즈도마다 요메 가와이나 같이 버레 대니데도 뭐.
And so these two, this concentration with recitation and the concentration not depending on recitation or without recitation, these two are important for all Kriya Tantra practices, like also Chenrezi and so forth. So depending on repetition or with repetition means depending on the audible repetition of the mantra. So kane jodoe. So not depending on recitation or concentration without recitation means a recitation where we're not saying anything. It's a recitation that's happening in the mind. And in terms of this concentration without repetition, we covered a little bit of this yesterday when we talked about the three samadhis or concentrations: abiding in fire, abiding in sound, and bestowing liberation at the end of sound. So we didn't have time to cover those as much today as Geshe wanted, but we did cover them yesterday, yeah? So in terms of the concentration abiding in fire, abiding in sound, and bestowing liberation at the end of sound, that first concentration, menegi samdendi akadislagre drupta. So the first of these, the concentration abiding in fire, is said to be the concentration which bestows siddhis or attainments. And when we speak about siddhis or attainments, we can talk about worldly attainments, and we can talk about supramundane attainments.
나로서 띵엔저가 시다 같이 차내는 칼라도 들이 체는 먹이네 제 도월래나
로소
아까서 릴을 야
칼라 먹어봐.
칼라 먹어봐 릴헬레 대 토야겠다니 띵엔저 지래.
So in terms of the common attainment which is associated with the first of these, the concentration abiding in fire, and Geshe said it's similar to Tumo but not exactly the same as Tumo. Once we are able to bring forth this fire in the body and the associated concentration, we can abide without food. We won't be able to take much food. So this is one of those benefits. And so that's very useful, right? Because if we don't have to spend a lot of time getting food, water, and preparing them and so forth, then we can use that time to develop our concentration and our meditation. Yeah. So of course, like don't try this at home, basically, right? This is when one gets to a very high level of practice, but if one understands the meaning right behind some of these visualizations, hopefully it's a bit more in depth for you. Yeah. So abiding in sound is said to be the concentration providing is to be giving or to be providing yoga. What yoga? The yoga that bestows concentration. And that means freedom of the mind, because the mind can stay perfectly concentrated. So the yoga of concentration. And that's good, because then we can direct our mind wherever we want. It can stay concentrated on the virtuous object for as long as we want, and it can penetrate whatever object of knowledge we need to when we need to do that.
다 선바텔 다다 타바테비 나조 스텔 디 가르체그레서는 타바테비 나조 타바테비 나조.
And so the last one, concentration, bestowing the liberation at the end of sound, it's there in the name. What does that bestow? What does that give us? It gives us liberation.
So those
three samadhis or those three concentrations, they each give us an important thing. So keep those in mind.
So
those three samadhis, those three concentrations, bestowing three practices which give us these three attainments. So then in terms of the meditations that we did, the first of these, the So the first of these, the self-generation, this is connected to the self as the basis of training. And so we explained those three samadhis, right? But now we have to explain, related to that, these four branched repetitions. And the first of these four branches is the self as the basis of training. And so the self as the basis of training, that's the self arising in the self-generation as that deity, and the 6 deities practice associated with that. So that's the first, the self is the basis of training. And so then, as we practiced in the meditation, then on the basis of that, you emanate other taras, or you emanate a front generation. That is the second of these four. Other is the basis of training. Yeah. Right. And so the next one is the mind is the basis of training. So the mind, Dagi Kyukorsan, the like Dawe Giden, yeah. And so the mind is the basis of training. That's the mind thinking about emptiness manifesting as the moon seat and syllable at the front generation's heart. That's the mind basis of training. Yeah. And then on the basis of that, we imagine that mantra Om Tari Tu Tari Ture Soha and its associated sound, Di Drupejirwa. That is the sound as the basis of training. And so it is said that whenever you engage in a Kriya Tantra retreat, whether it's on Tara, whether it is on Cherezi, Avalokiteshvara, and so forth, when you engage in these recitations, it should be with these 4 points in mind. So we were short for time. So Geshe said, rather than the explanation, he wanted to lead you in a visualization of all of these. So hopefully that was beneficial. So thank you very much. That finishes the teachings. It finishes Geshe's comments for today. So having engaged in this activity together, let us very briefly dedicate the merits. So we'll just do some brief dedications from the prayers for teaching occasions. Jangju Zengju Rinpoche Maje Panang Jeju Richi Jeba Nyamba Mepa Yang Gone Gondo Bewa Rishu Tongi Tawa Rinpoche Maje Panang Jeju Richi Jeba Nyamba Mepa Yang Gone Gondo Bewa Jambe Pao Jeda Jemba Tang Kundu Zambo Deyan Dejende Deda Kundu Jesu Dalo Chir Gewa Dida Tamche Rabdu Mo
Tisu shebe kyawa tongche ki ngawa gana chodo ngawa di dabi gewe tsawa dikun kyang zambo sheche rada ngawa gi. Kangri rawe kwe shinkang de pedang dewa maru jongwe de Chere ziwa tenze gyatso yi shape sinde pada tengyo chi Tu su jang shin jang ge we Tenzo yong we kunzo do por ze Chok sun go we le mo jo jo Pa da so du che gun du sha te shu
May through our short period together today, the seeds of love and compassion that we have planted and the associated merits, may these be the cause for the sun of happiness to shine equally upon all 6 types of beings within samsara. May also, through the power of these merits, all of the conflicts, wars, pestilence, disease, and so forth in the world be completely cleared away. So we'll end here. So mainly, of course, we want to come away with the knowledge, right? Understanding what we are doing, and hopefully you can incorporate this when you engage in the practice at home. So Tashi Dele, greetings to everybody. Thanks so much. We'll see you tomorrow morning, and there is the session in the afternoon.
Happy birthday, Geshe-la.
Happy birthday, Geshe-la. Happy birthday, Geshe-la. Thank you.
Oh, happy birthday. Geshe Tujenang. Happy
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody.
Okay, bye. Thanks, Kedrick.
Thank you.
That was so great. See you guys later.